Good morning. Second day working on this video. You notice it's kind of a little dark outside. Apparently it decided to rain on me. I thought I was going out for my morning walk. That's fine. So we're getting ready to head out to the field. We're going to get the first flight in, possibly your second, third, or fourth, depends on what initiative you have. There's a couple of things we want to discuss before we get out to the field. The first thing is nerves. And everybody goes through the shaky thumb. You'll be a little stressed out, sweating, excited, etc. Take a deep breath. Think about everything you're doing. Think it through one step at a time. So we know we're going to check the airplane. We're going to put it on the ground. We're going to taxi out to the runway and line up for our takeoff. We're going to throttle the stick forward. We're going to let the plane gradually climb up. We'll discuss all that. And then we're going to do our landing. Think each step through before you actually do it. Plan ahead. And then once the flight is finished, sit down. How did you feel about it? What did you think you could improve on? What do you think didn't go as you expected, or something didn't go as planned? Go through all of these items. They will help you to self-evaluate yourself, and then you can do your second flight, your third flight, so on and so on. So take a deep breath and just walk through each one of these steps. It's actually raining out here, but it's not raining when we were recording. Okay, I know you guys are out at the field. You're really excited. You want to hear me talk a little bit more, I'm sure. So what I'm going over right now is I'm talking about propeller safety, and we'll open up the rest of this audio in a second. When you put the battery in, make sure you put the battery in, you strap it down correctly with a Velcro strap, make sure that it's not going to move. Watch your fingers, keep them away from the propeller. So, and I'll show you here in a second how I usually approach the plane from the side. It's the safest way. If this propeller spools up and we're not ready for it, we can get hurt. So we want to make sure that we've got everything out of the way. We've loaded the battery up safely. We're turning the controller on first, making sure that we've got power to the controller. Make sure that that throttle hold is turned on. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect the battery here in just a second. So we're going to turn the plane to the side away from us. Make sure it's not pointed at somebody. And we're going to go ahead and connect that battery. That's set. What I will do is when I reach over to plug the battery in, I make sure that I have no fingers in the way so that I've got nothing that propeller can get. And I will plug that in. And I will wait. Now I know that it's got power. It's basically the first 3 beeps tells me, hey, that's a 3-cell battery and it's ready. If you hear the continuing beeping, beep, 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 continuous, it means either your controller is not on, or it's not set correctly, or there's another issue. And there's a bunch of other beeps that you would hear. The only thing you should hear is 3 beeps and then a 4th beep after, and that's it. Now, with the reflex system, you're going to notice, and I'm going to have to bump the controls. It's still windy out here, but that's fine. The plane has to hold still for a minute for the reflex to set. The wind is moving the wings. So we'll wait. There it goes. We see that it ran through its cycle. It checked all the surfaces, and it set it all to where we want it. So that's going to be dependent on where our channel 5 switch is at. So right now, it's on the beginner mode. So if I take it off of beginner mode, it just makes a couple minor changes, but we know we're good. So one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to walk through this. I'm not actually getting ready to fly at this moment. We are here shortly. Normally you want to put your canopy cover on. The first thing I do while I'm sitting in the pit area, the first thing I do is I check my control surfaces. So I make sure that when I turn ailerons right, the right side comes up, the left goes down. If I turn aileron left, So I'm going left, the left aileron comes up, the right one goes down. If I pull back on the stick, that is up for the airplane, and this control surface in the back should come up. It does. We've checked that. Now we're going to check down. Down is correct. And then we're going to check our rudder. And the rudder should go, if you're behind the airplane, the rudder should go in the same direction as the rudder stick. In this case, we're facing the airplane backwards, so it's going to go the opposite side. So we're making sure that's turning. We're also making sure that the nose is turning as well. So we know all those surfaces work. Now we know, if we had our canopy on, we're ready to fly. I'm going to walk the plane out to the field before I taxi onto the runway. I'm going to do the same check again. Right, right, left, left, up, down, down, right, left, left. I'm doing this again before I taxi. When I taxi out, I'm going to check it again one last time. Right, left, up, down, down, right, left, left. If any of your control surfaces do not appear to be moving correctly, if a control surface is not moving at all, don't assume that once the plane is flying that control surface will work. All of your control surfaces should work before you take off. If something doesn't look right, stop, go back to the pit area, take a look at the plane, and correct what you need to correct. That way we know that the first flight and any subsequent flight is going to be successful. The reason why I check these surfaces 3 times is there's a possibility you didn't completely connect the cable. You might have missed something if you check it 3 times over, once on the table, once as you're getting out to the field, and once as you're taxiing out. You're assured to visually check to make sure that those surfaces are all correct. There are times where people will forget to connect the ailerons. They'll get out there and they're just bump the controls. They're just going, okay, I'm good. But the ailerons aren't moving. We have to visually check the surface, make sure they're moving. Do it here on the table. Do it again as soon as you put the plane on the ground. Do it again as you taxi out. That way, you're checking it. If you get into a habit of this, I've seen a lot of people do it, where they've gotten into the habit of not checking their surfaces and they've forgotten to connect their ailerons, or their rudder has come disconnected, or the elevator is not correct. So those are things we want to check. Okay, so we've taxied out. I'm checking my controls. You can see the surface is wiggling there, and I'm going to throttle up and I'm going to take off. Now I am pointed into the wind, and the wind is not always in the direction that I want it to be, but for your first flight, point the nose of the airplane into the wind. You want your takeoff and you want your landing into the wind. All you'll have to do is throw the throttle up about 75% and just let the airplane fly. It will slowly climb up, and you keep climbing up until you're about maybe 75 to 100 feet, whatever's comfortable for you to be able to visually still see the airplane, but you have enough distance between the airplane and the ground that if you make a mistake, you can easily recover. A lot of people tend to want to keep the airplane very low to the ground on their first flight, and they think that the closer they are to the ground, the easier it is and the less chance. And that's actually the opposite. The more altitude you can comfortably have with the airplane, the more room you have to recover if you make a mistake. Okay, let's talk about what your flight path should be. So I have a little bit of a diagram. It's a little crude, but it'll work. So you want to take off into the wind. So you see the wind is pointing towards the pilot. So you want to take off to the right side, basically the same way we just did in the takeoff video. We want to take off and we want to land into the wind. You do not want to fly with the wind for takeoff or landing. It will be very difficult and you are likely to crash, especially on your first flight. The wind is not always in the direction you want it to be. And we're just going to fly these gentle left-hand turns. It's almost like NASCAR. And we're just making an oval track. So we're just going to get a feel for making a gentle turn to the left and then making the plane straight again and turning left again and coming by the pass over top of the runway. Continue to do that and you will get used to how the plane handles. I do recommend changing direction a little bit so you'll have a little bit of a better feel for the right hand turn versus a left hand turn. And perspective wise, some people get into a habit of only flying a left hand pattern, so when they have to fly a right hand pattern because the wind is coming the opposite direction, it will make it difficult. So always take the extra effort, practice your right hand turns and your left hand turns, and you just want to keep the plane gentle at the same altitude it's been flying in, and just touch the ailerons a little bit and let the plane just kind of turn off to the side. And you'll have to give a little bit of up elevator when you start to turn the ailerons just to hold that same altitude, and then you're on the back side of the pass. And then I'm going to come around again and I'm actually going to land. So for landing with the Ranger, it's really simple. All you really need to do is just pull the throttle back. Pull the throttle back and just let the plane coast down. It will slowly sink and the gyro will help hold it. You do want to try and keep it in a straight line with the runway or where you plan to land, and it will just gently touch down. When you're about an inch or 2 inches, the wheels are just 2 inches off of the ground, you can gradually just pull back a little and settle it down on those back tires. If you notice, I just put it into the dirt. I didn't hurt anything because the throttle was already turned off, but we do have some ant hills that tend to cause some issues. You may end up on your nose after the landing. That's fine. Make sure you check the plane. You shouldn't be hitting the ground hard, but don't be afraid. The plane is made for it. It's not going to be a problem. You will be perfectly fine. Okay, real quick demo. I've got the plane in demo mode, or trainer mode rather. I'm checking my control surfaces. I'm about to take off again. When I take off, I'm just going to gradually climb up. And then what I'm going to show you is the reflex system with the trainer mode prevents you from rolling too hard. So you can't do aileron rolls or anything. So if I throw the controls far over to the right or the left, it's only going to let the plane go over so far. So you can push the stick all the way over, but get used to gracefully using the stick. It won't let you roll. It'll prevent you mostly from crashing too hard. So don't be afraid of the controls, but make sure that you give it enough to allow it to turn. So the system is in place to prevent you from using too much control. You can still crash, and it's not going to suddenly stop it and hold it in the air. But your control is limited on the plane to the point where it's in a safe envelope of flying that you should be okay. Okay, let's talk about actually landing the plane. On your first flight, things that you should expect to be: you are going to be nervous, you are going to be sweaty, you are going to be twitchy, you're going to be stressed out. There's a whole lot of things going on this first flight. And how can you do this and land the plane at the same time? First thing is, as soon as you are airborne, take a deep breath. You're already past the first stage. Make a light bank over and do your racetracks. Then practice near approaches and touch and goes. This will help your landing. And a near approach is where you just pull that throttle back, let the plane settle, keep it in line, and then push the throttle all the way forward again. Don't touch the ground, and just climb out gradual. This will get you ready for your landing. So on the third or fourth lap, go ahead and start doing your near approaches where you're not touching the ground yet. And then once you go to actually land the plane, it's going to feel very comfortable. This is something you're going to have to focus on, but the plane will land itself. If you just pull the throttle out, you notice the propeller isn't even spinning. It's just coasting in. And I push the throttle forward again, and I'm back off again. Leave the throttle off the whole way down for your landing, And do not use the throttle until the plane is on the ground and stopped moving. It is the best course of action. There is occasionally where you may hit a anthill like I do. You might bump the nose into the ground. You don't want the propeller spinning at that point. But as you can see, the plane just settles in on its own. It's well designed. It'll be easy to handle. Take a deep breath. We're getting ready for our first flight here in a minute. Okay, so we're getting ready. We've got everything ready. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind. Push the throttle up to at least 75% for takeoff. If you don't, I'm going to show you a prime example. And here's to show you how well that this plane actually flies. I'm going to show you the very first time that Hopi has flown an airplane ever on the field. And she didn't push the throttle all the way up, and it didn't hurt a thing. We're fine, but you do have to have that throttle up. So let's take a look at that first takeoff that she did. Okay, so she doesn't push the throttle all the way up on this. And she tried to pull back, and it's okay, it didn't hurt anything. But on her second attempt, after explaining push the throttle up to at least 3/4, she had it. The plane takes off on its own. She's got it. She's going to do her gradual turn, and we're going to get a little more altitude. She has never flown an airplane before, and I actually convinced her to fly this. Now, you're going to be a little nervous like she was, and so you notice that she is up and down, up and down. We want to try and keep the same altitude, and she got a hold of it pretty well. No problems. The plane is specifically made for beginners. So it's now your turn. You're ready to fly. In the next video that I'm going to make after this one is going to explain where you go after this, because there is so much more now that you've opened the doors to. And we're going to watch Hopi fly for a minute. You can see everybody has that first nerve-wracking flight. So be ready, deep breath. Go out there, get your flights in, work on the racetracks. One more time to go over the landing. I've slowed this last clip down for you guys. You see that I'm going to be coming in for my approach, so I'm already starting to turn around to face into the runway. I am pulling my throttle back. I am not trying to pull the nose up. I am just letting the plane turn using the ailerons, and I'm just letting it come down slow on its own. I'm not pushing the nose down, and I'm not pulling the nose up. And it will just settle. All you have to do is a little bit with the ailerons to keep the wings level. Just let it settle in. It will slowly come down correctly on its own. And then as you are just about an inch or two off of the ground, you can pull the elevator up, nose up just a little, and come down on those back two wheels, and then just let the nose drop down. So we're just going to come right down there, and we're on the ground.